I just want to say I am so impressed with War Trace and the older couples taking out the younger couples. Man, that is so important. That was actually my parents were invested in by an older couple in Illinois. One of my dads, the couple that invested in my parents, the gentleman who they were close with just passed away last week. And then the couple that invested in us, we got to see them about a month ago, and then there's a young couple that my wife and I invest in, and it is just so important to see older couples investing in younger and younger pursuing the older. And I just hope that this culture not only develops but also deepens, because marriage is not designed to be done in a vacuum. You are not supposed to navigate marriage just the two of you. And it is so, so important. We work with my wife and I, and actually my kids also help and support Summit Ministries. Summit Ministries is a ministry out of Manitou Springs. I don't know if you guys are familiar with John Stone Street or Dr. Jeff Myers, but I go and speak with them, and I speak on marriage with their organization. And we have a Q&A forum at the end of whenever I get to speak. And I don't know how to describe it. I am heartbroken because we talk about in our talks, hey, you guys got to find older couples to be invested in. You need to go over to their house and eat and watch how they raise their children and lovingly invest in their families. And they come to us and they say, we can't find people like that in our churches. And I am just overwhelmingly excited to see that you guys are either continuing or beginning a culture where older are going to invest in younger, and younger are going to invest in younger. And here's the big deal. I think that needs to happen. Hopefully you'll continue this, but we got to be honest with one another. We got to be honest with struggles. We got to be open to say, hey, we need advice from some older folks. And so hopefully this is continuing or beginning. I'm not sure where we're at in terms of that culture, but couples, you're not designed to do it by yourself. My wife and I came from two good families, and we knew we were not designed to do marriage by ourselves. So I want to applaud the older couples for taking folks out. I want to applaud the younger couples for saying yes. And hopefully you all can find some couples not only to be invested in by, but also invest in, because it was a huge difference for my wife and I and the young couple that we get to invest in Colorado. And we're ready to get my youngest, Kinsey, out of the house, because we're ready to get a second couple that is about to get engaged and Lord willing, within the year get married. So Kinsey, hurry up and graduate, all right, will you? Oh, you're trying, all right. Try a little harder. Okay, so it's great to see you all. Hunter, the bearded wonder, has returned. Yes, and Mustache Man is still here. Ben, thank you. I'm glad. It's good to see you. All right, so we left off last night. We're still in this section of lies we believe, and we're not saying that folks in here believe these, but they are ones that are infiltrating our society, and we really, really, really need to engage in this. And we need to finish out what's the point of marriage, because marriage is not just good, it is... Okay, good. All right. Yeah, good. Mason remembered. Okay, now we're in this talking about marriage is good, and then we're going to get into what's the potential tonight in order to set up for the purpose tomorrow morning. So we left off with this contract versus covenant, and actually Tim Keller, one of my favorite podcasters that I listen to. I love reading his books. My wife gets me his books. And you guys got a great book this evening, but I want to add to your marriage collection, not just the one by Tripp on marriage, but also The Meaning of Marriage by Tim Keller with his wife, Kathy. Both books are phenomenal, but he talks about the difference between covenant and contract, and he actually puts it to two different words. He would say it's consumer versus committed. Consumer versus committed. So instead of having a contractual obligation in your marriage, it's a consumer mentality versus a committed. And so I've got these two ideas here, and I need everybody to watch, because this is incredible PowerPoint presentation. How would you say it? Powerful PowerPoint presentation illustration. That's what it is. All right, we ready? This is a consumer mentality. Can't make a decision? Okay. And then the committed. Boom. All right? All right, that was supposed to be funny. It didn't fly. Okay, thank you very much. All right. Yeah, I mean, but you think about it, right? Your consumer, they're just kind of all over the place, right? Oh, I'll date and go live with a few people, whatnot. But committed says, man, I'm in there like swimwear. I am committed, and I am in a covenantal relationship. But unfortunately, in our society, men have found ways to get what they want without commitment. This robs them of an essential part of true manhood. Folks, we need to learn the importance of commitment. And you all are here tonight, but I love how Tim Keller talks about the difference between consumer versus committed. A consumer relationship is a contractual one that communicates that you are there for the product and not the person. You're there for the product. You're in it to get whatever you can, and then whenever the consumption has been fulfilled, I'm like, you know what? It's not about the commitment. It's not about the covenant. It's about, all right, I've consumed everything I can out of this relationship and I'm out. A committed relationship is a covenant relationship that serves as an end in and of itself, whether it meets your needs or not. And while you want to be married and in a relationship where that other individual desires and loves you enough to meet those needs, sometimes there's going to be phases where that doesn't happen. And that's where we've got to go back to, even if you feel something, that doesn't mean you chase it, right? Best movie, worst message. If you feel it, chase it. No. Because if I relied solely on my feelings, my wife and I, and I'll talk about this a little bit tomorrow morning, would have left one another about 25 years ago. So just because you feel something doesn't necessarily mean that's what you should pursue, because marriage is a covenant, and it's not just good, it's muy bueno. And since Mason was here, look, Mason, what I added. Awesome. Yeah, way to go. All right, are you proud of me? All right, good. All right, so now we've got them both. All right. Now, if marriage is good, in our society, we showed you the chart on the first night, less and less people are pursuing marriage. You remember the chart for the first night? All right. So why do people avoid marriage? What are some reasons? Financial? Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because we're going to show tonight that you are actually in a better state if you are married financially. It's crazy, and I'll show you that here in a few minutes. Thanks for bringing that up, Mason. Good. Any others? Why do people avoid marriage? What's that? It's complicated. It is so much work. And while I love being with my wife and she is my best friend, well, what? I was just going to say, it takes a lot of work. Now, could you imagine? You guys can tell, I have a difficult time just standing still in general. Imagine being married to this mess, right? I have ADHD, HD. I can't even get it out. It's essentially ADHD in high definition. And so she even has trouble getting my attention. Sometimes she'll say, Matt? Yes, okay. And so it takes a lot of work. It's complicated. Good. Other reasons people avoid marriage. What do you think? Yeah. Well, childhood experiences. Excellent. Good. And sometimes, sometimes we've had the experience before. You're like, man, it did not go well. I don't want to go through it again. And I do believe that God can redeem and restore, and you can stand before Him forgiven. Doesn't mean it's not without consequence, right? One of the things I tell my college students, because I think we've misunderstood the grace of Jesus to mean that, listen, I'm under grace, and so there's no condemnation, and as a result, there's no consequences. I think that's a misunderstanding of the grace and love of Jesus Christ. There is no condemnation in Christ, but there are consequences. There are consequences. And I think sometimes we get frustrated either with our current marriage partner or other situations in life because we've misunderstood that while there is no condemnation, that there are consequences. And that's why we need forgiveness, and that's why we need grace. Any other reasons why we avoid marriage? Yeah, we don't want to commit to one person. Yeah, that is a big one. And another one is this whole soulmate garbage. Oh, what if I miss the one? Listen, once you make that covenant between God and that person, they're the one and they're the only one. You haven't missed a single person. They're the one. You're the one. All right, we need to take a second. If you're married in here, and you can look, I want you to look at you. I want you to look at that other person. You are the one. And then you say, you are the one still. All right, and now you get to kiss that person in church. Oh, wait, me too. I don't remember last time I got to kiss my wife in church. Okay, so now here's my students in class sometimes get uncomfortable because I talk about how great my wife is, and I'll sometimes go because her name's Kat, and so I call her Kat, and it's awesome. So it's okay. Anyway, so by the way, I don't know if I can use this joke. You may not want to record this, but I do not like cats. I know there's some very feline lovers here, but if I were God, I would have sacrificed I would have sacrificed cats in the Old Testament. And I was thinking, yeah, even leave them off the ark, yeah. And I was even thinking, I was going, why didn't God sacrifice cats in the Old Testament? And I realized because they have absolutely no value, all right? So, now, why do people avoid marriage? These were some great responses here, and unfortunately, too many people listen to Taylor Swift because they've lost hope. No, got some groans here, that's okay. I think where some folks buy into the garbage that all love ever does is break and burn and end. Well, first of all, if that is the case, then it wasn't love. But I don't want to be insensitive here, but this is a big issue in our society, and I'm going to demonstrate this is a big issue in our society. My guess is maybe some of you all went through this prior to getting married, and again, we're under the grace of Christ. But if we're going to be a church, if you're going to be a church that fights for family, we need to expose the lie that cohabitation is a good stepping stone to marriage. That is a lie from the pit of hell that smells like smoke. And I'm going to give you stats for that here in just a moment. All right? In terms of 2019, the percentage of adults saying it is acceptable for an unmarried couple to live together, only 14% in our society are saying it's never acceptable. 16% are saying only if they plan to get married, and 69%, even if they don't plan to get married, they say it's okay. Our society would say, listen, you are to put that person to the test prior to making a lifelong commitment. And we're going to see here some very strong evidence that that is not the best way. Now again, God can redeem, God can restore if that is how you began, but it actually presents some challenges here. So, according to National Library of Medicine, the median length of cohabitation was just less than a year and a half in 2009. And what's also interesting is cohabiting men are 4 times more likely to cheat than husbands. Now, what do you guys think? Higher or lower for cohabiting women? What do you think? Higher? Mason's going higher? All right. Anybody else going to agree with Mason? You think it's lower? All right. Anybody else want to go? I should have some money. I should have some stats here or something. No. All right. Actually, cohabiting women are 8 times more likely to cheat than wives. Okay. Fascinating. Mason, way to go. You've gotten 2 things right tonight. All right. So, here are some things to consider. Cohabitors are more likely than those married to face less relational satisfaction. So those who continue in cohabiting relationships, actually they've done research that indicates you will not have, and we're going to see some reasons why as we get to what's the potential this evening, you actually have less relational satisfaction. 2, there's more domestic violence, less health and financial benefits. 4th, more estranged fathers. 5th, a greater chance of divorce. Some of the students that I've worked with over the years, they say, well, I'm going to live with this person before I get married because it'll reduce the chances of divorce. And the stats would indicate, the research would indicate that's not the case. When cohabitants do go on to marry, they are more likely to divorce than those couples who had not lived together before marriage. And this is from 2022 again. Now again, this is not a death sentence if that's the way you chose. However, it reflects a lack of understanding of the importance of covenant. And that's what we're trying to get at this weekend, is understanding, hey, I have made this covenant before God and to this person that I'm going to keep in light of or in spite of my lack of or depth of satisfaction. Okay? Because really, isn't that Christ's love for us? He does not get everything out of us that he wants, and he's still in a covenantal, loving relationship with us. And that just says, all right, I get to love my wife the way Christ loves us. So, why? Why are so many people focused on shifting trust in marriage to, I'm going to try cohabitation first? I think, based on the research, the key contributing factor to contract versus covenant, having a contractual relationship as expressed in cohabitation versus a covenantal relationship as expressed in marriage, is fear. It's fear. And I don't know, how many, we work in Colorado around college students, and we're very familiar with the FOMO type of language. How many of you guys are familiar with FOBO, fear of a better option? You guys heard of this? Or FOMO, fear of missing out? Oh, I might miss out on the one. Thank you for bringing that. What's your name? Christy. You're Christy. Hi, Christy. Great job on saying fear of missing out. You're welcome. All right. Fear of missing out on someone. Or fear of a better option. As we've already said, once you say that vow, there is no better option. Once I said my vow to my wife, there is no better option. And I'm going to pursue her as if there is no better option out there. And it's a lot more fun for her and a lot more fun for me. But also, another one is this soulmate myth, right? It is garbage. You can read about it in this Getting Married. But I work with students that will say, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to find the one. It doesn't make sense. But once you say that vow, they are the one. Or another one is fear of people's opinions. I actually, in Colorado, where we live, you will run across people. I mean, it's just, hey, that will make fun of others if they don't live with someone before they get married. Well, how could you do that? How are you going to know how it all... Folks, this is not what God has called us to. And we cannot be afraid of what our society says, as 69% of those surveyed from Pew Research indicate, listen, they would say there's no problem with it. And the evidence is showing that is just not the case. It is just not the case. And so the best option is marriage. All right, lie number 3. Now, I love being in the Deep South. And this may not be such a big deal for folks living in the South. I am so impressed with you guys' kindness and investment in one another, but this is a huge problem in our society, even in terms of helping and having a functioning relationship between a male and female. Because we're saying in our society there is no difference between male and female, which is another lie from the pit of hell that smells like smoke. Because men and women, that is a lie that they are the same. They are so different. They are so different. Even a famous feminist here, feminists today would say radical feminists are fully willing to accept the fact of innate physical differences between the sexes. Conventionally, however, neither liberals nor radicals are willing to go a step further and accept an even more difficult fact, that there are also innate differences above the neck. There are design differences between male and female, and I know you all know this, but I think we as a church need to do a better job, maybe not this church, maybe this church does a great job, but we as a universal church need to do a better job of standing up for there are differences between male and female. And my favorite example of this is going to find out insurance for my kids. Have you all ever thought, here's our society that's saying there are no differences between male and female. And my wife and I, well, first of all, and I think this is a very good practice because I'm working with 20 to 22-year-olds who have never paid a bill before at college. Their parents have not taught them to pay bills and work. It is just terrible, in my opinion. But my kids have to pay for a portion of their car insurance. And we go to Allstate one day, and my wife was feeling a little snarky that day. And we go, and we are adding Tyler to our insurance. And this is whenever this debate is really raging in our society. And she goes, okay, what's the cost to have Hannah insured, my oldest? And what's the cost to my son to being insured? And it was like $100, $150 more a month. And my wife, and I'm going to exaggerate a little bit, but my wife looks at the lady once we found that, she says, excuse me, I thought there's no differences between male and female. And the lady behind the desk, her jaw just kind of dropped because she was like, I don't know how to navigate this. Because even an insurance company says there is a difference between male and female. Like, it's just so ridiculous. And when it talks about that in terms of marriage and family, you just look at this, just what goes on in the mind in terms of what they're focused on. I got this cartoon there in your notes, and you can look at those. But there's just no way that there are not differences. Not only that we should celebrate, that we should also embrace when it comes to marriage. Mothers are more sensitive to cries, words, and gestures of infants, toddlers, and adolescents. And partly as a consequence, they are physically and emotionally better at nurturing their children. Ladies, how do I want to say this? It is such a gift to be a mom. My wife and I do premarital counseling, and over the past 20 years of working with college students, it is amazing to us. And it doesn't seem to be a problem here, so way to go, Pastor Billy Joe. But there are less and less women who are wanting to get married, and they value having children. And it's like having children is a blessing and not a burden. And we're going to talk about why that matters so much. But my mom, this was her, I think she was 72 in this picture. She's got the butterflies on. And my parents, by the grace of God, have said, listen, we're going to invest in our kids and we're going to invest in our grandkids. And my mom, every summer, for how many years is it now, Hannah? 16, 17, 18 or 19? My mom, every summer when the family gets together, does a thing called Girly Day. And Girly Day is a day that is dedicated to celebrating her granddaughters and what God has called them to be and what God has called them to do. And grandparents that are here, you all can make a lasting impact on investing in your granddaughters and grandsons by teaching them the truths of what it means to be a woman of God. And the beauty and the value of that. My daughters look forward to Girly Day every summer. Every summer. And so parents and grandparents, how are you investing in that future? And I'll be honest, I hope my daughters, whenever they become moms and they become grandmoms, if Jesus doesn't come back first, that they will be investing in the eternal nature of their children and their grandchildren and the continuing generation. Whenever I started having kids, as soon as I got married, I started praying for my kids. As soon as I started having kids, I started praying for their salvation. As soon as they got saved, I started praying for their future spouses. So I've been praying for my daughter's future spouse for 12 years, my oldest. I've been praying for my son's future spouse for about 10 years? Are we investing in the eternal nature of our families? Because women, you are so important. Men, fathers excel when it comes to providing discipline, ensuring safety, and challenging their children to embrace life's opportunities and confront life's difficulties. We need both, the male and female. And granted, things happen in life to where sometimes you have to step in and step up because of the number of broken families. And praise God for those of you who have stood in the gap, for those single moms, for those single dads, for those divorced moms, for those left moms, for those left dads. Man, praise God for you who have stepped in. But it's really interesting. I love interacting with my son, and I'm super proud of him. And you guys can tell this is a sweater vest. Vests are all about protection, right? You got your life vest. It protects you from what? Drowning. Ben, you got your bulletproof vest. It protects you from bullets. And then you got your sweater vest. That protects you from pretty girls. So my son heard me tell this joke like 20 times, and one day he comes home from school, and he says to me, "Dad, I need a sweater vest." I'm like, "Son, why do you need a sweater vest?" "Dad, you won't believe what happens during recess. The girls chase me." I said, "So why do you need a sweater vest?" "So, Dad, the girls will stop chasing me." So guess what we did? We got him a sweater vest. And you know what? He's been single ever since. Folks, we need to be so invested in loving our kids that we recognize that the difference between male and female are so important, and we need to celebrate that. And in our society, we need to stand up for it because God created us differently. He created us differently to work together. I love what Dave Ramsey says. He says, look, if the two of you are exactly opposite in your marriage, the exact same in your marriage, one of you is not necessary. You need that other person. I am so glad my wife is different from me. She has no desire to get up here and do what I'm doing. But man, I value her opinion and her insight and her teamwork in terms of interacting with everybody. So one of my favorite philosophers is a lady named Carrie Underwood. You guys know her? Mason, Carrie Underwood fan? No. Ben? No. Okay. I'm alone. Hunter? Anybody watch Sunday Night Football anymore? No, you guys are at church. Never mind. Okay. We're in Colorado. We go to church once a week. It's okay. Anyway, so one of my favorite songs is "The More Boys I Meet, the More I Love My Dog." You guys know this one? It goes, "The more boys I meet, the more I love my dog." And I was like, this is... What's that? Did you know I used to get paid to sing at weddings? Yeah, I'm surprised too. Now, Mason, you and I should hang out. Why did I get stuck with Hunter for dinner? Okay, so... Nothing. Okay. All right. Here's the deal. Guys, you are so much more important than dogs. Like, we in our society have minimized the importance of you men. And it just drives me crazy. You all matter so stinking much. And and praise God for the moms, and I love watching football games whenever they say, "Yeah, thanks, Mom." I'm like, where's the dad? Because friends, men, you are so much more valuable than dogs. A father matters. Fatherless children are 100 to 200% more likely to have emotional and behavioral problems. And this is actually from government, the U.S. government, so there are some things they get right. Fatherless sons are 300% more likely to be incarcerated. 90% of all homeless and runaway children are from fatherless homes. Children from father-absent homes make up 63% of youth suicides. And the list actually goes on and on. And here's what I want to say about this. Just because, can I say crappy in here? Just because you had a crappy dad does not mean that you have to be a crappy dad. Just because you had a crappy home situation does not mean that you have to create a crappy home situation. I love the story of Joseph. Anybody know the story of Joseph in the Old Testament? He had a terrible home life. Mom invested in idols. There is sex outside of the marriage going on. You got multiple moms. In fact, one of my favorite stories is Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Esau. There you go. Esau and Jacob have this conflict, right? And Jacob has his 12 children from the two wives and 2 concubines, and he's about to go and meet Esau, and he's really nervous about Esau, running into Esau. And so if you study this in Genesis, what Joseph does is he puts his family in a pecking order, and he puts the ones he loves the most, Joseph and Benjamin, at the back of the line to give them the best chance from escaping from Esau. There is family dysfunction, deep family dysfunction, and yet Joseph turns out to be the godliest character in the Old Testament. It just says you may need to have the humility to get the extra help you need, not only to love your wife well, but to love your kids well. And while I had great parents, I have phenomenal parents, I also knew that I needed to have another couple's perspective to challenge me, to step up and say, Matt, you're not doing this well with Kat. You're not doing this well with your kids. We cannot do marriage on our own. So men, no matter what society tells you, you matter. And you've got to step up. For the good of your spouse, for the good of your kids, for the good of your kids' kids. Because sometimes we just look at the generation right below us rather than looking at not only the generation right below us, but also my kids' kids. As soon as my daughter or daughters get married, I'm going to start praying for their kids. As soon as their kids get born, I'm going to start praying for their salvation. And it just goes on and on. What's the content of your prayers? Ben, you matter. Ben, mustache man, you matter. Mason, you matter. Hunter, we're still figuring that out. Okay? Good? All right. Are you going to need a hug afterwards? Maybe. Are you a hugger? Okay. All right. So, lie number 1, marriage is a social contract. We're going to defeat that. Number 2, cohabitation is a good stepping stone to marriage. You would not believe the number of students at Summit that will come up to me and say, yeah, my mom and dad, while they're not for my brother or sister cohabiting, they're letting them do it right there in their home. Mom and dad, you got to take a stand for what's true. I know it's not easy, but you got to take a stand for what's true. Lie number 3, men and women are the same. So what's the point? We define marriage as a legally sanctioned union of one man and one woman who pledge perpetual fidelity to one another and care for one another. We need to be promoting what has been demonstrated as the success sequence. Listen to this. Only 3% of millennials who earned at least a high school diploma, worked full time, and waited until marriage to have children were in poverty by the time they reached young adulthood. And what is this success sequence? This is not from the Bible. This is from what society and research says. It's education, stable job, marriage, and then children. And that's the progression. That's what they call the success sequence. All right. So, what if marriage is good for male, female, finances, getting old, children, and society? What if marriage is not just good, but muy bueno, or yes? All right. So, marriage, what's the potential? What's the potential here? If marriage is good, why should people pursue oneness in marriage? If marriage is good, we've established this, why should people pursue this? All right, let's see. Who can we put on the spot here if we don't hear from anybody? No? JC, why should people pursue marriage? What do you think? Yeah, why should people pursue oneness in marriage? What do you think? It's biblical? Good. We'll take that. Good. Excellent. In fact, that's a really good reason. Good. What else? It's biblical. Why else should people pursue oneness in marriage? Uh-oh. Hunter, I may have made fun of you too much. They've gotten quiet on me. Nothing. Okay, all right, it's okay. Why else? It is good for family and society. Good. We kind of talked about that. Any others? Less conflict. What do you mean? I like that. This is my educator, right? I've heard like you were a superintendent of a school or two. No? No, it's somebody else? What's that? Principal. Okay. Good. Why do you say less conflict? Thank you.
Well, if they are pursuing to be together, they're going to not be clashing as much.
Very good. Excellent. Yeah, and I'm telling you, it's a lot more fun to have a marriage that's pursuing oneness than one that is engaging in conflict. And conflict's going to happen. But there are 5 reasons that we're going to list here. Is there enough evidence to show that marriage is good? First of all, evidence would suggest that marriage is good for you. A Canadian think tank concluded that an overwhelmingly large majority of studies indicate that married couples are happier, healthier, and live longer than those who are not married. You're like, well, I just want to get there and meet Jesus. Well, let me pause here for a minute. The longer you're here, the greater impact you have for advancing God's kingdom. So while I cannot wait to see Jesus, I can't wait for his return, we also have time to bring his kingdom here on earth. And so that means I'm going to live hopefully for a little bit longer because I've been married to Kathy. So this is about me 15 years ago. This is what I'm going to look like in about 20 years. You guys know that my wife will not let me grow a mustache because I look too much like my dad with it. So Ben, I envy you so much because I think my wife would think I'd look good with a mustache like that, but she goes, I think look like too much like my dad. I know. All right. Now, he's not that bad looking, Ben. Shoo, no, you don't want to look like him. He's not that bad looking. Thanks a lot, Ben. All right, this is what we look like in about 40 years. There we go. All right, so anyway, marriage actually is good for you. Over the past 50 years, American society has experimented with new family forms. The clear preponderance of the evidence shows that the intact married families provide a host of benefits and protections for adults and are the best possible environments for children compared to alternative family arrangements. So if nothing else, for your good, but also the good of society, make sure you get married, but honor that covenant. So here are a couple of benefits. So Mason said, man, earlier about finances, it's not as good to be married. Well, number 5 here, financial benefits. Top 5. On the verge of retirement, approximate accumulation. Average never married is about $167,000 in terms of your net worth. Average for the divorce, $154,000. Average for the married couple, $410,000. Because here's the deal, you actually have a better chance because you're working towards something. Well, here, I'll add this one more. As of 2019, the median net worth for the age of 25 to 35, and this is not how much you have in a bank account. This is your total net worth. Single was $7,000. Cohabiting was $17,000. Married couples, $68,000. In a cohabiting relationship, there's a subtle, subconscious consumer mentality. I don't know whether or not I'm going to be with them forever. And so I have nothing that I have to commit to, nothing to commit to for long term. A married couple says, man, we're going to pursue oneness because we not only want to be here for our children, but we want to be here for our children's children. Remember in Proverbs where it says, it is a blessing to leave an inheritance for your children's children. One of my parents, both of my parents, I really appreciated this about them. They say, Matt, Kat, we have worked hard so that we can bless you guys and not be a burden to you. We have worked hard and we have sacrificed some things. We have not given you some of the things that you've wanted over your years of marriage, because in the end, we want to be a blessing to you and not a burden. And that's been the mentality for my wife and I. My wife and I, we haven't been able to have the nicest cars. We haven't had the nicest living situations. But we've tried to save and set aside so that we are a blessing to the kids at the end of our lives rather than a burden. And depending on how you use the resources that God has given you, you have a better chance to succeed financially as a married couple than you do in any other fashion. How are you using the resources? How are we using the resources that God has given us? What's interesting is a fascinating new study from Indiana University randomly assigned newly married couples to, number one, joint checking accounts, number two, separate accounts, or number three, whatever they wanted to, and they tracked them for 2 years. Guess which couples thrived? Joint, right? After 2 years, couples in the joint checking account condition exhibited significantly greater relationship quality than couples in the other two conditions. So it not only helped them financially, it helped their relationship, because we're one on the finances, because we have joint checking. We're one there. We don't have divided accounts. We're working as one. And these were not believers from my understanding. The couples that did this together were in a better shape than the others. Okay? All right. Four, enrich society. Devoted spouses and grown children assist in caring for their sick and elderly parents. Without flourishing families established by marriage, in other words, the long-term health of the modern economy would be imperiled. So, why should a married couple have babies? Why, JC, I'm going to pick on you again. Why should married couples have babies? Be fruitful. Okay, she goes with biblical answers. I'm so proud of you. It's like you're married to a pastor's son or something. Mason, why should people have babies? Oh, let's hope for something faster here, Mason. No. So you're questioning right now. It's okay. Maybe you need the hug afterwards. All right, good. Why should we be having babies? There you go. You guys heard that, right? One night we were having a discussion in terms of who they wanted to die first between my wife and myself. My kids did. Not. And there was can you guys tell already who they want to die first? Yeah, thank you very much. I am going to, Mason, you didn't need to laugh that loud on that. They're like, Dad, you're going to be a bear to take care of. I think they're right. Okay? But yeah, that's an important part. Because actually, this is a huge deal. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but we'll show you a stat here in a moment. But this is a huge problem in China and Japan, because people are not having children. Now, I gather from what I've seen whenever I've visited my parents that this doesn't need a lot of encouragement among these folks here. Praise God. However, you do need to be encouraging your friends and your family, and I'll tell you why. So there's more and more a growing mentality. We don't have kids. They're a burden. Oh, man, they are not a burden. They are a blessing. How many of you guys have heard of the Dinks? Anybody? The Dinks? All right, got a few people head shaking no. These are dual income, no kids, and they're celebrating it. Dual income, no kids. And then, how many of you guys have heard of the Dink Wads? Those are double income, no kids with a dog. And you know what's left, right? The Dink Whacks. Double income with no kid with a cat. And actually, folks, it's a problem. I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is a huge problem. No, you're a Dink Whack? No. Sorry, I didn't mean. He's turning red. I didn't mean to embarrass you. We got both dogs, cats, and kids? Not kids. All right. Okay, that's all right. So can we, never mind, all right. What's that? We can talk about it? Here's the, I know I'm in the South. I got to be careful. But animals are replacing kids. Animals are replacing kids. And the trend in the U.S. is the birth rate is going down. We'll talk about the significance of that in just a moment. My wife, I'm trying to get a clue from my wife whether or not I should go here. No? Okay. All right, good. Here's the deal. Unfortunately, animals are replacing kids. And it is a huge difference. Huge problem. The global fertility rate is actually below where it needs to be. As of 2021, the average fertility rate is 1.64 children per woman. And, I got some smart aleck people, and how can you have 1.64 children? Don't lose sight of the importance of this. The needed replacement level of fertility is 2.1. If we do not encourage not only marriage, but children being brought into married families, we are going to face some huge negative outcomes. Japan's population crisis was years in the making, and relief may be decades away. This is from 2024. More people are dying than being born each year, causing the population to fall rapidly, with far-reaching consequences for Japan's workforce, economy, welfare systems, and social fabric. Sorry, I took out a slide I thought was still there. This is the trajectory of the U.S. And as older grandparents in here, don't put any pressure on your children to have kids, but we need to be making sure we're celebrating whenever children are born. Thank you, Pastor, for praying for the family at Vanderbilt. We need to be celebrating, because if not, it's going to lead to a very much more difficult future for our kids and their kids. Okay? When marriage is strong, children and adults both tend to flourish. When marriage breaks down, every element of society suffers. 3, security of children. Not going to spend a ton of time here. Children from stable married families are significantly less likely to suffer from depression, anxiety, alcohol and drug abuse, and thoughts of suicide compared to children from divorced homes. Which means, listen, there isn't redemption and restoration. That means folks from outside those traditional family situations are going to have to probably work a little bit harder. And you may have to bring in more family support. And you may have to bring in non-family support, because Christ can redeem and restore, and He has redeemed and restored, but it may take some more work, because statistics are not destinies for individuals, but they are for societies. Just because you might fall into one of these statistics doesn't mean that you can't surround yourself by Pastor Billy Joe's preaching and the families and the relationships here. I was so impressed with JC and Hunter and the relationships that they've formed and how they were describing them at dinner. We need one another. So statistics are not destinies for individuals. That means you all can overcome. But it may take some more work. And it may cost you something a little bit more in terms of time and resources, because Christ can still redeem and restore. 2, health of the spouse. Married men gain moral and personal discipline, a stable and supportive domestic life, and the opportunity to participate in the upbringing of their children. The war against boys in this book, how misguided feminism is harming our young men. Here's what she says. This is from a feminist. History teaches us that masculinity without morality is lethal, but masculinity constrained by morality is powerful and constructive and a gift to women. This is not to brag. This is not to put you down, but would men, you guys consider yourselves a gift to your wife and how you treat her? Would you consider yourself a gift? If not, remember our circle last night? Where are you in the circle? Where are you in the circle? All right. Married women gain stability and protection, acknowledgement of the paternity of their children, and shared responsibility and emotional support in raising of those children. So the health of the spouse. Interestingly, the one area where marriage tends to not to promote health promote a health benefit for couples is, you might want to take a guess, what's the one area where your health is not as great because you're married? Anyone want to take a guess? Ryan, you want to take a guess besides your beard? No? It's okay. It's okay to be wrong. Apparently not. Okay, all right. Good, any? Ah! Yeah, weight gain. That is the only area where there's not physical benefit in terms of being married. It's because y'all are good cooks. I guess that could be considered sexist, couldn't it? No. Okay, good. Thanks, mustache man. It's just true. Okay, good. Marriage in general is so powerfully beneficial that health and science writer Kate Linnell boiled it down to this. If we could package marriage in a pill, marriage would qualify as a wonderful drug. How about that? Pretty cool. All right. Last but not least, we're going to end with this one. Go? Are you sure? This one always makes me nervous. Better sex more often. You did? All right, good. You're in fuego tonight. That's okay, good. So, true sexual chemistry grows from the whole relationship rather than the relationship being based on sexual chemistry. As you grow and get to know and love one another, sexual chemistry is actually deepened and developed. We're going to talk about the significance of this here in just a moment. But there's some stats out there. For one thing, married people are more likely to have a sex life than single folks. And even though our society says contrary to that, we've got a few stats here. Oh, I'll get to those. The physical union is a wonderful sign of the union of all other aspects of your life. True sexual chemistry, then, grows from the whole relationship rather than the relationship being based on sexual chemistry. In what ways does the modern belief that you must have sexual chemistry before marrying distort both marriage seeking and marriage itself? See, we have bought into the idea that marriage is about sex. No, marriage is good, and an expression of that goodness is the intimacy. And actually, research outside the Bible demonstrates that married couples do have more sex and better sex often. So, quick quiz here. Single men are blank times more likely not to have had sex even in the past year than the married people. It's actually 20. Single men are 20 times more likely not to have had sex. Which group is the most likely to report a highly satisfying sex life? Singles hooking up with Netflix and chill. Have you guys heard of this? No? It's a popular thing in Colorado. So, okay. 2, cohabiting couples, or C, married people. According to the studies, it's married people. 3rd, here's a challenge. The best sex occurs during what years of marriage? 1 to 7, 8 to 15, 16 to 24, 25 to 35. I won't ask anybody to answer this. It's actually 16 to 24. 16 to 24 years of marriage. And here's why I bring that up. Because if the answer is 16 to 24, when do couples generally get divorced? When marriage ends, usually some time has passed since the wedding. In fact, the average length of a marriage prior to divorce, this is in 2023 from Forbes. Anybody know? It's 8 years. So here's the deal that I am observing as I work with folks in the age of 22 to 40. What's that? Are we following? Okay, all right. Are you guys putting the pieces together? Like if the average length of a marriage is 8 years and the best intimacy occurs during 16 to 24, then they haven't even given their marriage or relationship a chance to grow and develop and experience that oneness. Because the sex they see here is not the sex that they experience one-on-one. Does that make sense? And it's a problem. It's a problem in so many ways. It's kind of like Bullet Bill. How many of you guys know who Bullet Bill is? Oh, come on. Can we raise our hands? Anybody? Okay, Mario Kart. Did anybody play? Ryan, did you play Mario Kart? Okay, Ryan, why didn't you raise your hand? You don't remember Bullet Bill? Hunter? You remember Bullet Bill? I got no. Okay, are you guys getting tired? No audience? Okay. Here's the deal. What's that? So here's the deal. Bullet Bill in Mario Kart is a video game where you do this racing, all right? And you can get these weapons. And one of the weapons is called Bullet Bill. And Bullet Bill is the weapon that if you get it and you press it, you go from 12th place all the way to 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. Is that pretty accurate there, Ryan? And so you don't have to go through the process of the pain of going 12th to 1st. You just jump ahead of everybody. Are you catching the connection here? A lot of us don't want to do the work. And we just want to jump ahead to years 16 through 24. My daughter, Kinsey, calls it the you stink weapon. She would get it. I got the you stink weapon. And she would go from 12th to 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, sometimes 1st. And in our generations that we're raising, we don't have the patience to go from year 8 to year 16 to 24 because our priorities are misunderstood. That marriage is not just good, it's muy bueno. Not in light of or in spite of the intimacy. I love what Tim Keller says. And I put this one up here. This is a great book, God's Wisdom for Navigating Life. Got 5 stars on Amazon. Sex apart from marriage becomes a product we consume. Remember consumer versus committed? Sex apart from marriage becomes a product we consume if we find someone attractive enough in quality and low enough in price. But if the quality goes down and the cost goes up, we can walk away because there was no covenant. If sex comes only with the radical self-giving and whole life commitment of marriage, that takes sex off the markets, as it were, and makes it priceless. Because my wife, Kat, is the only one. And I am pursuing her as the only one. And until she dies or I die, she is my only option. And Kat, you are my best option. You are my best option. Marriage is good, and this is without using the Bible. Financial benefits, enriched society, security of children, health of spouse, better sex more often. This is written by Louise Perry. She is not a believer. I cannot recommend her book because it is rough to get through, but she goes through the process of showing, look, how we have treated and misunderstood sex has been terrible for our society. And she says the task for practically minded feminists, I'm not recommending becoming a feminist, but here's a person who is a feminist who's changing her position in terms of the male-female relationship. She says the task for practically minded feminists then is to deter men from CAD mode. And if you don't know, I'll make sure and read this CAD mode definition. Where's my CAD? Okay. CAD is essentially acting immoral. It's acting as a child rather than a man. Our current sexual culture does not do that, but it could. In order to change the incentive structure, we need a technology that discourages short-termism in male sexual behavior, protects the economic interests of mothers, and creates a stable environment for raising the children. And we already do have such a technology. Even if it is old, clunky, and prone to periodic failure, it's called monogamous marriage. Here's a lady who is not a believer in Jesus Christ, who has actually studied the history of the sexual revolution and its impact upon men and women, and she comes away, if you choose to read the book, she comes away and says the best option for men, women, children is monogamous marriage. And I love it. I love it when folks who do not believe in Jesus, who do not believe in the Bible, who actually do the research, and they come to a realization that the Bible was right. Well, it's about 3,500 years ago. then marriage is good. And the best for humankind is monogamous marriage. So what if marriage is not just, but also muy bien? The more you invest in marriage, the more valuable it becomes. How are you doing investing in your marriage? How are you doing saying, wait a minute, the truth is marriage is good. And as a result, I am going to invest in it. And where it's going poorly, I'm going to start with the circle that we talked about last night and examine my own heart. But the more you invest in marriage, the more valuable it becomes. So, with that in mind, we've talked about what's the point. Marriage is good, not just good, but very good. What's the potential? We say, man, here's what even the research says. It is good for finances. It is good for the health of the spouse. It is good for children. It is it is good for your intimacy. And then tomorrow morning, I got ahead of myself. We'll talk about the purposes. And I'll tell you a few more stories. And we'll challenge you in terms of, are we living out those purposes? All right? All right, let me pray briefly. And then I think Pastor Billy Joe will come and close us. Do you want to close us in prayer or me? Really? All right. Father, thank you so much for the honor and privilege of getting to engage with these men and women. And Lord, again, if I did or said anything that's contrary to the greatness of who you are or the truth of how amazing marriage can be, I ask you to forgive me. I thank you for all these folks who sacrificed time and other things, time with their kids, time with family, time with whatever it was, to hopefully see reasons for not only investing in their own marriages, but also in the marriages of the community around them. Lord, if I said or did anything that's contrary to the greatness of those things, I ask you to forgive me. And I thank you for each person here tonight. And I pray your blessing on them. Pray for your blessing on every aspect of their marriage. We just lift up this church. We lift up the impact and influence that I'm hearing about in the community you've put them in, and may it continue to grow. May this church be a place where marriage is blessed, marriages thrive, marriages heal, and marriages are encouraged. Because if we want to save America, marriage and having kids is going to be key. Thank you for each person in here tonight. We pray your blessing on them no matter where they're at, in light of or in spite of their past. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Amen. Oh, okay. All right.
I told I can keep going. They didn't want to do again, thank you so much for being here. Again, we'll go Sunday school hour in the morning. Thank those ladies in the back that are watching the children. So we're very appreciative of that. I thank each one of you. Thank you again, brother. We'll see you in the morning. We'll bless you tonight as you go home and see you then. Look forward to it.